a court order.
5 times.
5 times, you know. So we had to go to the House of Assembly and say, enough is enough. If there is certain underground relationship between NCC and COSON, this is not fair, because I, as an artist, I want to choose who collects for me. You cannot tell me I have to collect through COSON. Then I say, please pay my royalty to my Swiss account, and Nigeria will lose on tax. And that's what a lot of Nigerians do who have international income. All the big boys now, their money goes into the foreign account. Because why would we have to go? We cannot even go through COSON because they don't have bilateral agreements.
Let me give you a piece of information that I think is very vital. Let me go back to PMRS again. It is on record, we presented it to the National Assembly, that staff of NCC, Nigerian Copyright Commission, were directors in PMRS. Now, remember what I said before, the coinage of the word is not mine, it's COSON's. They say that PMRS collapsed into COSON. And I'm not a policeman, I'm sure you're not, but there's something they call bad money over good money. If a fraudulent amount of money can be traced to your account, even if what is in your account is 10 billion naira, and they trace a bad 1,000 naira into your account, the bad money will overwhelm the good money. The same directors of PMRS that collapsed into COSON. And then what do you make of that? The easiest way one can describe the scenario is conflict of interest.
Okay, if I understand you very well, you want multiple, collective management organization.
Exactly.
What's the benefit of that?
The benefit is, in America you have AMRA, you have BMI, you have ACAP, you have a collective society who could collect for the intellectual properties, for books, for movies, for somebody could collect from radio station, television station, while one company could be specialized just to collect on behalf of artists mechanical rights. Let me give an example. There is, if I play this for you, you don't have to pay now to Mozart intellectual property, because it is out of the 75 years. Mozart died 200 years ago. But if I play like, I can then claim arrangement rights, because I rearranged it, and you have to pay me my arrangement right, but you don't have to pay composer's rights. Now if I play that's one of my compositions. You have to pay me composition rights till 70 years after I died. So that's just for the public to understand. There are different kind of rights. So collective societies can sit together and say, you collect this, you're in charge of this, and you're in charge of that. Not just one collecting everything from everywhere and not having the right connection internationally to collect, because somebody else has tied it up. So there's a little bit of confusion we have to solve. We are not saying COSON should close down, but we should work together and we should make sure that everybody is being served.
Okay, so how do we, this discordant tunes coming from everywhere, now how do we harmonize this?
Actually, let's even take it from George. Let's take it to you, George. You are a member of PMAN. We have heard time and again that there are issues even within PMAN. What is the root cause of the problem in the Nigerian music industry? Because it starts from all the problems of PMAN, from all the problems of musicians not being able to speak with one voice, and it's evolved into what has now been called COSON and MCSN and so on and so forth. What is the problem with our musicians in Nigeria?
It's quite easy to understand. And by the way, he is the president of PMAN. I'm his vice president.
Okay.
Right. So what I'm saying...
Do we have only one president now? Because over the years we've had situations where there are several people presenting themselves as presidents and vice presidents and so on and so forth.
You know, the way Honey attracts bees. It's the same way that everybody will want to be a president of PMAN, but there are procedures. We also have constitution written, which we follow, and that's what TMAC as a president and I are trying to get people to understand. We are so used to in Nigeria when an evil is done for a long time, it becomes the norm. But it mustn't be. We have processes of election in PMAN. It has never been followed. And the same way now, processes of registering collecting society was never followed. What happened to the collecting society registration was what I would call one trying to protect one's self. Those who were at the helms of affairs then in NCC had huge losses to incur. Well, their cousins had huge losses to incur, and that's the reason why they did it. How do you find a situation whereby an NCC will refuse to license PMRS and turns around again to now say, oh, behold, the PMRS now wearing the cloak of COSON registered only 3 months to the application. There's an underlying current. It's one of those anomalies that we are trying to correct.
You still haven't answered the question that I asked, which is that what is the problem that makes it such that the House of Musicians in Nigeria is still falling apart? It's because it's either PMAN or PMRS or COSON or MCSN. The entire music industry in Nigeria, there's still this fragmentation that makes it.
Answer the question?
Maybe I should ask the president of PMAN. What is it over the years?
When you have 3 Nigerians sitting together, you have 3 opinions. There are problems in PDP. There are problems everywhere. But we have to look at it from a legal point of view. We have the constitution for Nigeria. We have the constitution in PMAN. And if everybody would study and have that PMAN constitution, there would be no arguments and no fights. But a high percentage of musicians are not very literate, and they want it their way. Well, somebody just can go and decide, oh, I'm holding my own election, and declare himself PMAN president. We ignore them, because the constitution gives us a step and the correct way how an election is being held, through a delegate conference called in by the Secretary General. So anybody coming up and saying, as a PMAN president, we have 3 cases in court. Let the court decide. That's why we have courts. And after a certain time, people will understand this is the right way to go. So we don't fight. Even the splitter groups, we sit sometimes together and we talk. We try to educate them. We try to tell them, listen, what you did is not correct. Look, study the Constitution. What are you going to gain? You're only causing confusion, because in unity lies power. So we have to come now together. We had a peace committee trying to bring the 3 fractions together. And the peace committee now started to share jobs under themselves. I have to stand up and say, sorry, there's a court order which says status quo. Nobody can hold an election at the moment until the Federal High Court and the Appeal Court rules. They're not listening to me. So there's a new case in the Industrial Court which will finally decide what's going to happen. So and the decision of the court will then tell the musician which way to go.
So should we take it then that our music industry is a reflection of our politics and Nigeria? Yes. Because we've got the Nigeria Governors Forum, 1 election, 1 result, and 2 chairmen of the same NGO.
Absolutely the same thing.
So we have that is happening in the political arena.
Everywhere. In Nollywood, in music, everywhere. And I think it's not actually a bad thing, because in the end, it crystallizes out in the end who is right, etc. You have to go through the process of growing to be a grown-up.
Okay, that's very true. You have to go through the process of growing to be a grown-up. Okay. as a way of wrapping up then, when we're going, we'll need you to use your flute to play us one of your really popular, wonderful tunes over the years. But as we are closing now, your final word on this issue of collective management organization for Nigeria, what will be your final word?